Hey guys, tonight we are wandering through the beautiful, hilly cobblestone streets of Lisbon. We're heading to a place that smells of old paper, leather, and history itself. The oldest bookstore in the world, a small, magical haven where stories have been sleeping for centuries. You can almost hear the distant, melancholic notes of a Fado guitar, feel the cool sea breeze coming off the Tagus River, and see the warm, gentle glow of a single lamp in a book-filled window. We're going to spend a quiet evening there, and we might just get a very special visitor. Are you ready in your warm bed? I hope you're all settled in and cozy. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. It's always so lovely seeing where you all are listening from, so feel free to leave your city or country and the local time in the comments. It makes our quiet little community feel connected across the globe. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The last customer, a young university student with ink stains on her fingers and a dreamy look in her eyes, has just departed. You stand in the doorway of your bookshop for a moment, watching her disappear into the Lisbon night. Then, with a soft sigh that is equal parts weariness and contentment, you close the heavy, dark wood door. You turn the great, long iron key in the ancient lock. The sound of the bolt sliding home is a deep, satisfying thunk, a sound that has marked the end of the day in this shop for over 200 years. You are Senhor Pedro, and this bookshop is your kingdom. It is not just any bookshop, it is Livraria Bertrand, or a place very much like it, founded in 1732, a survivor of the great earthquake that shattered Lisbon, a continuous, unbroken thread of stories that runs through the heart of the city. You are the latest in a long, quiet line of booksellers who have been the custodians of this magical place. Now, your nightly rituals begin. They are a slow, gentle, and unchanging dance that you perform every evening. First, you walk through the long, narrow, labyrinthine rooms of the shop, your soft leather slippers making almost no sound on the worn wooden floorboards. The shop is a forest of towering, dark wood shelves, so tall they reach the ornate plaster medallion ceiling. The shelves are crammed with books, stacked vertically and horizontally, spilling from every available space. The air smells wonderful. It is the most comforting smell in the world to you. The dry, sweet, slightly dusty scent of old paper, the rich, oily perfume of leather bindings, and the faint, clean scent of the beeswax polish you use on the shelves. You move through the pools of warm, soft light cast by the few small lamps you leave on while you work. The rest of the shop is filled with deep, mysterious shadows. You straighten a stack of poetry books, your fingers brushing against a slim volume of anonymous verses from the 18th century. Literary historians still debate the true identity of some of Portugal's most beloved past poets, but you think the mystery is part of the beauty. The story, the poem, lives on long after the author's name has been forgotten. You continue your slow patrol, a gentle shepherd tending to his flock of sleeping stories. You pick up a book left on a reading chair and slide it back into its rightful place on the shelf, You run your hand along a row of leather-bound classics, feeling the familiar, reassuring texture of the tooled spines under your fingertips. Each book you feel has a presence, a quiet, sleeping energy. And tonight, the shop feels particularly peaceful, particularly still. As you finish your tidying, a familiar feeling washes over you. It is a feeling that is quintessentially Portuguese, a feeling for which other languages have no single word. It is saudade, a gentle, sweet, and melancholic longing. You feel a saudade for the day that has just passed, for the customers who came and went, for the quiet conversations you had about books. You feel a saudade for your wife, who used to perform these same nightly rituals beside you. And you feel a deep historical saudade for all the booksellers and all the readers who have passed through these doors over the centuries. It is not a sad feeling. It is a warm, rich, and deeply human feeling, a quiet acknowledgement of the beauty of things that have passed. You make your way to the front of the shop and look out the large display window onto the street. Lisbon's Chiado district is growing quiet. The last of the famous yellow trams rattles by, its bell clanging, its electric sparks briefly illuminating the wet cobblestones. A fine sea fog, a common visitor from the wide Tagus estuary, is beginning to roll in, softening the edges of the gas lamps and making the world outside seem like a dream. Your work is done. The books are all in their places. The door is locked and bolted. The shop is safe for the night. You have a small, cozy apartment on the floor above, but tonight, like many nights, you will sleep in the small room at the very back of the shop, a room with a simple cot, a desk, and yet more books. You prefer to sleep here, surrounded by the quiet, breathing presence of your stories. You turn off the main lamps one by one, plunging the successive rooms into a deep, velvety darkness. You leave only a single, small, green-shaded lamp burning on your desk at the back, a tiny beacon in the vast, dark sea of books. You make yourself a small cup of warm milk, sit at your desk, and prepare for your own rest. The silence in the bookshop is now absolute. It is a silence made of paper, of ink, of leather, of wood. It is a silence made of 1,000,000 sleeping words, of 1,000,000 untold adventures, all waiting patiently for the morning to come, for a reader's hands to open them and bring them to life once more. The city outside is quiet. The fog presses gently against the window panes. You feel a deep, profound sense of peace. You close your eyes, the gentle weight of a long, good day settling upon you. And in the deep, warm, story-filled quiet of the oldest bookstore in the world, you begin to drift off to sleep. You are on the very edge of sleep, that wonderful, hazy, drifting place where the thoughts of the day dissolve into the gentle nonsense of dreams. The comfort of your small cot, the profound, paper-scented silence of the bookshop, and the deep, satisfying weariness in your old bones have all conspired to pull you down into a peaceful, welcome slumber. And then you hear it. Tap, tap, tap. It is a tiny sound, so faint it is more a feeling than a sound, a tiny vibration you feel in the ancient wood of the building around you. You surface slightly from your sleepy depths, your mind trying to categorize the sound. the groans of an old building settling for the night. A loose shutter rattling in the fog-dampened wind. You dismiss it. A building of this great age is a living creature, full of its own sighs and murmurs. You roll over, pulling your woolen blanket tighter, and let yourself begin to drift again. Tap, 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 tap. There it is again. A little clearer this time, a little more deliberate. It is a precise, rhythmic sound. It is not the random creak of old timber, it is a tapping. You lie perfectly still, listening. Your sleepiness now replaced by a gentle, quiet curiosity. Who would be tapping at this hour? And why does it sound so small? For a fleeting, whimsical moment, your mind drifts to the old Lisbon stories of the almas penadas, the gentle, suffering souls said to wander the foggy streets, perhaps looking not to frighten, but simply to find a warm place to rest. You smile to yourself in the darkness. An old bookseller, you think, is allowed his fanciful thoughts. Tap, 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 tap. The sound is persistent. It will not be ignored. It is a question waiting for an answer. With a soft, resigned sigh, you decide that sleep will not truly come until this small mystery is solved. You swing your legs out of bed, your bare feet finding the cool floorboards. You light a fresh candle, its small, steady flame, a welcome companion in the deep darkness. You take the candlestick and begin your search. You shuffle out of your small back room and into the main body of the darkened bookshop. Your single, small flame throws immense, dancing shadows that leap and twist among the towering shelves, making the familiar space seem strange and new. The sound is difficult to locate. Acousticians and architects of the future will debate how sound travels through these old, dense urban structures with their thick stone walls, heavy timbers, and sound-absorbing books, but you are experiencing it firsthand. The tapping seems to echo in a strange ventriloquial way, seeming to come first from the front of the shop, then from a corner to your left. You make your way to the great front door, its glass panes now completely opaque with the thick gray sea fog that has rolled in from the river. You press your ear to the door. Nothing. The street outside is utterly silent, wrapped in its foggy blanket. You check the large display windows. They are still and quiet. The tapping is not coming from the street. It is coming from somewhere inside, or somewhere else. You stand in the central room of the shop, turning slowly, listening. The sound seems to be coming from above. You look up at the dark, ornate ceiling. You must go upstairs. You make your way to a narrow, spiral staircase hidden at the back of the shop. This staircase leads to the upper floors, which are not part of the public bookshop, but are your private domain of storage and archives. As you climb, you run your hand along the massive, exposed wooden beams of the building's frame. You are inside the pombaline cage, the ingenious lattice of internal wooden framing that the Marquis de Pombal ordered built into every new building after the great earthquake of 1755. It was designed to make the buildings flexible, to allow them to sway but not to collapse during a tremor. It makes you feel as if you are inside the belly of a great wooden whale. The upper floor is even more cluttered and maze-like than the shop below. It is a vast, dusty repository of books that have not been touched in decades, of old ledgers, of shipping manifests from a time when books arrived in great wooden sea chests. The air up here is even thicker, with the scent of old paper and decaying leather. The tapping is louder up here, clearer. Tap, tap, tap. You follow the sound, your candlelight guiding you through narrow aisles between precarious, leaning towers of books. The sound leads you to the very back of the building, to a small, forgotten room that was once used for storing accounts. And you find the source. The sound is coming from a single, high, round window, a small porthole that looks out over the rear alleyway. The window is set so high in the wall you cannot see out of it. It is completely white, covered in the thick, swirling fog, and the sound is coming directly from the glass. Tap, 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 tap. A tiny, insistent, and somehow polite knocking. What could it possibly be? A tree branch? No, the alley is too narrow for trees. A loose piece of wire? Perhaps. But the rhythm feels too deliberate. The window is too high to reach. You go back out into the main archive room and find a small wooden set of library steps. You drag the dusty steps back into the small room and position them under the window. The tapping continues, a steady, patient summons. Holding your candle carefully in one hand, you begin to climb. The wooden steps creak under your weight. You climb until your head is level with the high, round window. The fog on the other side is so thick, it is like a solid wall of white, pressing against the glass. The tapping stops for a moment as if whatever is out there is aware of your approach. You lean closer, raising your candle so its light illuminates the old, wavy glass. And there, in the center of the window, you see it. A tiny, dark silhouette, no bigger than your thumb, pressed against the outside of the glass. It is the source of the tapping. Your old eyes struggle to make out the shape in the flickering light. You squint, trying to resolve the image. It is a small, feathered creature, its wings held tight against its body, its tiny head cocked to one side. It is a bird, a sparrow, seeking refuge from the disorienting fog. And as you watch, it raises its head and gently, deliberately taps its tiny beak against the glass one more time. Tap. A tiny, desperate plea for entry into the warm, dry, quiet world of your bookshop. You stand on the creaking wooden steps, your candle held high, mesmerized by the tiny creature on the other side of the glass. It is a common house sparrow, a pardal, the kind you see every day in the city squares, squabbling over breadcrumbs. But seeing it here, so high up in the dead of night, pressed against your window, it seems less like a common bird and more like an emissary from a forgotten world. The thick sea fog swirls around it, making it appear and disappear for a moment, a tiny, determined ghost against a wall of white. Its tapping was not an act of aggression, but a plea. A tiny, feathered sailor, lost in a sudden, disorienting fog, seeking the light of a friendly harbor. Your heart, the soft heart of a lonely old man, goes out to the small creature. You cannot leave it out there to perish in the cold and the damp. You make your decision. You carefully climb back down the steps and place your candle on a stable, flat-topped stack of old ledgers, well away from any loose paper. Then you climb the steps again. The window is a small, round porthole. Its iron frame sealed tight with decades of paint and the damp swelling of the wood. It has likely not been opened since your own father's time. You press your fingers against the small iron latch. It is stiff and cold. You push, gently at first, then with a more determined, steady pressure. You must open it without a sudden jolt that might startle the bird away. You work the latch back and forth, a small squeaking complaint echoing in the quiet room. Finally, with a small, satisfying click, the latch gives way. You push the window open just a few inches, creating a small, dark opening into the room. You hold your breath, expecting the sparrow to be frightened by the sudden movement, but it is not. Without a moment's hesitation, as if it had been waiting for this exact invitation, the small bird hops from the outer ledge, through the opening, and lands with a soft, feathery thud on the dusty inner windowsill. It stands there, a tiny, perfect silhouette against the white backdrop of the fog outside. It shakes its small body, a shiver running through its feathers to shed the dampness of the fog. It looks at you with a bright, intelligent, black bead eye. It does not seem afraid of you, only weary from its ordeal. Ornithologists and animal behaviorists of the future will debate the navigational abilities of non-migratory birds like sparrows, questioning how they find their way, especially in such challenging weather, but this small bird seems to have navigated not just through the fog, but to this specific forgotten window, as if it had a purpose, a destination. As the sparrow ruffles its feathers, you notice something else, something unnatural, tied to its left leg, so small and fine it is almost invisible, is a tiny object. It is a minuscule, tightly rolled scroll of what looks like parchment, no bigger than the tip of your little finger. It is tied to the bird's leg with a single, impossibly fine strand of bright red silk thread. A wave of wonder, so profound it makes you feel dizzy, washes over you. This is no ordinary lost bird. This is a messenger, a bearer of a secret. You think of the old Portuguese tradition of promessas, of vows made to saints, of difficult journeys undertaken to deliver a prayer or a message of thanks. This tiny bird, in its own way, seems to be on just such a sacred pilgrimage. And your dusty, forgotten storeroom is its shrine. You know you must see what is written on the scroll, but first you must attend to the messenger. Its trust is a precious, fragile thing that must be earned. You climb down from the steps again and make your way back down the spiral staircase to your small living quarters at the back of the shop. You pour a small amount of clean water into a bottle cap, creating a tiny drinking dish. You take a few crumbs from the bread you had for your supper and place them in your palm. You return to the small, silent room upstairs. The sparrow is still there on the windowsill, its head now tucked into its feathers, resting. You approach slowly, making no sudden movements. You place the bottle cap of water on the sill. The bird lifts its head, looks at the water, and after a moment, it hops forward and takes a few delicate sips. It then looks at the crumbs in your open palm. You hold your hand perfectly still. With a bravery that astounds you, the tiny bird hops from the windowsill onto your hand and begins to peck at the crumbs. You can feel the impossibly light weight of it, the delicate tickle of its tiny feet on your skin. It is a moment of pure, gentle, and absolute trust. While the bird is occupied with the last of the crumbs, you slowly, carefully bring your other hand towards its leg. You expect it to startle, to fly away, but it does not. It continues to peck at your palm, as if it understands what you must do, as if it is allowing you to complete this final stage of its mission. Your large, old bookseller's fingers, used to handling heavy, leather-bound tomes, feel impossibly clumsy as you attempt the delicate task. The knot in the red silk thread is minuscule. You work with the very tips of your fingers, your breath held tight in your chest. The thread is soft and fine. You gently pick at the tiny knot, teasing it, loosening it. Finally, it comes undone. You carefully slide the single loop of thread off the bird's leg, freeing the tiny scroll. The sparrow, its duty now complete, its message delivered, seems to let out a small sigh of relief. It finishes the last crumb, gives your finger a final, gentle peck that feels like a thank you, and then hops back to the windowsill. It finds a comfortable spot, fluffs up its feathers into a small, round ball, tucks its head under its wing, and promptly falls asleep. You stand there for a long moment, a silent guardian watching over the sleeping messenger. The room is utterly still, save for the sound of your own quiet breathing. You look at the tiny, perfect, feathered ball asleep on your windowsill, a creature of the outside world, of the sky and the trees, now safely harbored in the heart of your dusty, indoor world of paper and ink. Then you look down at your own hand. Resting in your palm is the tiny, tightly rolled parchment scroll. It feels as warm as a living thing. The red silk thread lies coiled beside it, a tiny splash of vibrant color in the dim candlelight. You are a man who has spent his entire life with stories, with messages from the past, with the thoughts and dreams of others bound in leather and paper. But you have never received a message like this one. The mystery of the tapping at the window has been solved, only to be replaced by a new, more profound, and more exciting mystery. The messenger is asleep. Its secret now lies waiting in the palm of your hand. Leaving the tiny sparrow sleeping peacefully on the windowsill, a small, feathered punctuation mark in the long, rambling sentence of your archives, you make your way carefully back down the spiral staircase. You are holding the tiny, rolled-up parchment scroll in the palm of your hand as if it were the egg of some rare and magical bird. The candlelight flickers, making your shadow dance and sway, a silent giant moving through a forest of sleeping stories. You return to your small living quarters at the back of the shop, and sit down at your old, familiar wooden desk. The single, green-shaded oil lamp casts a soft, steady, circular glow on the desk's surface, a perfect, intimate stage for the small drama that is about to unfold. You place the tiny scroll in the center of this pool of light. For a moment, you just look at it. It seems impossibly small to contain any message of importance. With hands that tremble ever so slightly, you begin the delicate operation of unfurling it. The parchment is unlike any you have ever felt. It is not the thick, sturdy vellum used for important documents, nor is it the rough, common paper of everyday books. It is incredibly thin, fine, and yet strong, with a texture as smooth and soft as a moth's wing. It seems to hold the faint, cool light of your lamp within it, giving it a soft, pearlescent glow. It is rolled very tightly, and as you try to unroll it, it wants to curl back into its secret shape. You must be patient. Using the tips of your forefingers, you gently, slowly persuade it to open to reveal its hidden face. Finally, it lies flat on your desk, a tiny rectangular window into another world. You put on your reading glasses and lean closer, expecting to see a line of tiny, spidery script, a request, a poem, a secret message. But there are no words at all. Instead, the entire surface of the tiny parchment is covered with an exquisite, impossibly detailed drawing, executed in a fine, shimmering, silvery ink. It is a map, but not a map of any land you know. It is a map of the night sky. It is a celestial chart, a beautiful miniature cartography of the heavens. You retrieve your large brass magnifying glass to examine the details. Your heart, the heart of a man from Lisbon, a city built on the genius of its navigators and cartographers, beats a little faster. You know a star chart when you see one. This city's fortunes were written in the stars, navigated by brave men using astrolabes and quadrants to measure the angle of Polaris and find their way across unknown oceans. This tiny map feels like a direct link to that glorious, adventurous past. Under the magnifying glass, the map reveals its incredible artistry. The background is a deep, velvety black, and the stars are not mere dots, but tiny, multifaceted points of the shimmering silver ink, each one seeming to hold a tiny spark of real light. They are connected by faint, gossamer thin lines, forming constellations. You scan the map, searching for a familiar landmark, a celestial anchor point, and you find it. In one corner of the map, you can just make out the familiar, comforting shape of the little bear, Ursa Minor, with the North Star shining brightly at the end of its tail. But the rest of the sky, the vast majority of the map, is utterly alien to you. The constellations depicted here are elegant, beautiful, and entirely unknown. There is one great swooping constellation that looks like a graceful ship with sails made of nebulae. Another cluster of stars is arranged in the perfect shape of a weaver's loom, its threads stretching across the sky. And in the very center of the map is a beautiful constellation that looks, to your bookseller's eye, like a great open book, its pages filled with the dust of 1,000 tiny, glittering stars. You stare, utterly mesmerized. What is this? Cartographic historians of the future will debate the fine line between scientific accuracy and artistic license in the early navigational charts that were the pride of Portugal. Were they purely functional tools, or were they also works of art meant to inspire wonder as much as to guide a ship? This map in front of you seems to be both, and neither. Its precision is that of a master cartographer, but its subject is from a world of pure imagination. A fanciful thought strikes you. You think of the old legends of the Age of Discovery, the stories of phantom islands like Antilia, the Isle of Seven Cities, a mythical land of riches that appeared on many 15th century maps, always just beyond the horizon, always waiting to be discovered. Could this be a map to such a place? Not a map of earthly roads, but a celestial guide, a way to navigate the heavens themselves to find a place that exists only in myth? You are a rational man, a man of books and learning. But the events of this night, the thick, disorienting fog, the persistent tiny tapping, the sparrow that seemed to seek you out, to trust you so completely, have begun to soften the edges of your rational world. You are holding a map of a sky that does not exist, delivered by a messenger who should not have been able to find you. You lean back in your chair, the magnifying glass still in your hand. You look from the shimmering, impossible map on your desk to the doorway that leads back into the darkened bookshop. You think of the sparrow sleeping peacefully upstairs. A star messenger. It has brought you a piece of its own sky, a sky of stories, of ships and weavers, and books written in light. The question that filled your mind just a few minutes ago, what message does the scroll carry? Now seems like such a small, simple question. It has been replaced by a question that is so much larger, so much more profound, it makes your head spin. It is no longer what is the message, but what world does this beautiful, impossible map belong to? You sit there for a long, long time, in the deep, soft quiet of the night, the only light in your ancient bookshop coming from the single, green-shaded lamp on your desk, and that light falls upon a tiny piece of parchment, upon a map of a sky no human has ever seen, a beautiful, glittering, and utterly baffling puzzle that has been delivered into your care. You sit at your desk for a long time, the single candle and the oil lamp casting a warm, steady glow on the tiny, mysterious map. The world outside is silent, wrapped in its thick, foggy shroud. The world inside your ancient bookshop is filled with a new cosmic wonder. Your mind, a tool sharpened by a lifetime of reading and contemplation, begins to work on the puzzle. A map, you think, is a promise. It is a promise that if you follow its lines, you will find your way to a destination. This map in front of you, with its unfamiliar constellations, its silver ship, and its open book, feels like a promise from a world you do not know. But it was delivered here to your bookshop, in the heart of Lisbon, a city whose entire history is built upon maps and the courage to follow them into the unknown. A thought takes root. If this map is connected to a story, a history, a piece of knowledge, then the answer must lie somewhere within these very walls. Your bookshop is not just a place of commerce. It is an archive, a library of forgotten knowledge, and so you decide to consult your oldest and most silent experts, the books themselves. You carefully pick up the tiny parchment map, protecting it between the pages of a small, empty notebook. You take your candlestick and begin your second journey of the night. You are not heading up into the dusty archives of the upper floor, but down into the deep stone cellar that lies beneath the shop. The cellar is the oldest part of the building, its foundations having survived the great earthquake, and it is the driest, coolest, and safest place to store your most precious and fragile volumes. You unlatch a heavy wooden trapdoor behind your desk and descend a steep flight of stone steps. The air grows cooler and changes its scent. Down here, it smells of damp earth, of cold stone, and of the deep, profound, almost spicy scent of centuries-old paper and decaying leather. This is the oldest layer of your shop's memory. The cellar is a single, long, vaulted room, its ceiling. A magnificent arch of stone, it is filled with heavy, dark wooden shelves, even more imposing than the ones upstairs. Here lie the books that are rarely asked for, the obscure theological treatises, the forgotten political pamphlets, the books written in languages that few can read anymore. And in the farthest, driest corner of the cellar is your favorite section, the one you have spent the most time organizing over the years, the maritime archives. This section is a monument to the history of your nation. It is filled with books on navigation, on cartography, on the great, heroic, and often brutal history of Portugal's age of discovery. You run your candlelight along the spines of the heavy, leather-bound tomes. The faded gilt lettering glimmers in the wavering light. You see titles on shipbuilding, on the use of the astrolabe and the quadrant. You see a biography of Prince Henry the Navigator, the great prince who established his school at Sagres and pushed his sailors to chart the unknown African coast. This is the world that created your city's golden age. You begin your search. You believe the star chart must be a navigational tool, a secret map to a real place. You carefully pull a huge, heavy atlas from the shelf. Archivists and librarians of the future will debate the best methods for preserving fragile, centuries-old paper. But you use the simple, intuitive care of a lifetime of practice. You support the book's spine. You open its pages slowly. You touch the brittle paper with the lightest of fingers. The atlas is filled with beautiful, hand-colored maps of the world as it was known 200 years ago. The coastlines are familiar, but the interiors of the great continents are blank spaces, marked only with drawings of strange beasts and mythical creatures. You turn to the section on celestial charts. You see the familiar constellations of the zodiac, the charts of the northern and southern hemispheres. You compare them to the tiny parchment in your notebook. There is no match. The constellations on your sparrow's map are not here. You pull out another book, a treatise on navigation from the 17th century. It is filled with complex diagrams and tables. You see examples of the old portolan charts with their characteristic web of rum bee lines radiating from compass roses, a beautiful and practical way of charting a course. You notice that your own small map has a similar network of faint, gossamer thin lines connecting the stars, suggesting a similar navigational purpose. But again, the constellations themselves are foreign. There is no silver ship, no weaver's loom. For over an hour, you continue your search. You look through a dozen different books, your hope beginning to fade with each new page. The map in your notebook remains a singular anomaly, a piece of a puzzle that does not fit into any known picture of the world or of the sky. You sit down on a small wooden stool, feeling a familiar sense of weary disappointment. Perhaps it was just a fantasy after all? A child's drawing, a piece of whimsical art, tucked into a sparrow's leg for reasons you will never know. You are about to give up and head back upstairs to your bed. But as you stand, your candlelight falls upon a different section of the shelf, not the section of science and cartography, but a smaller, more neglected section, the one labeled, in your own handwriting, Lendas Emitos Legends and Myths. A new thought strikes you, a thought so simple you wonder why you did not have it before. What if you have been looking in the wrong section? What if the map is not a map of science, but a map of the imagination? What if it is not a guide to a real place, but an illustration for a story? Your energy renewed, you turn your attention to this new set of books. They are smaller, more humble volumes, many bound in simple paper or cloth rather than leather. They are collections of folk tales, of saints' lives, of fables and maritime legends. You pull them out one by one, scanning their contents. You read tales of enchanted Moras, of magical islands that appear and disappear in the mist, of great sea monsters, and of brave fishermen who fall in love with mermaids. Your hand finally falls upon a small, slim, unassuming volume. It has no title on its spine. Its cover is made of simple, dark blue card, the color of the sea at dusk. It feels different in your hand from the others. It has a strange, quiet, resonant feeling to it. You have no memory of ever having opened this book before. You open the cover. The title page is written in a beautiful, old-fashioned script. It reads, Contos das Estrelas Perdidas, Tales of the Lost Stars. Your heart gives a sudden, sharp leap. You hold the book in one hand and your candlestick in the other. Your hands are trembling again, but this time it is not from age or from weariness. It is from the thrilling, electric feeling that you are on the very brink of a great discovery. You have a strange, powerful, and unshakable feeling that the answer to your beautiful, impossible puzzle lies waiting for you, right here, inside the pages of this small, forgotten, star-titled book. You carry the small, dark blue book back up the stone steps from the cellar as if it were a holy relic. Its unassuming, titleless cover seems to hide a secret gravity. You move through the dark, silent aisles of your bookshop, your single candle casting a moving circle of light, your heart beating with a quiet, scholarly excitement you haven't felt in years. The answer is here. You can feel it. It is in your hands. Before opening the book, you feel an urge to check on your tiny visitor. You climb the spiral staircase to the upper floor once more and peek into the small, dusty room. The sparrow is still there, a perfect small ball of feathers, fast asleep on the windowsill, its head tucked safely under its wing. It is completely at peace, its long, mysterious journey over, its duty done. You watch it for a moment, a wave of affection for the small, brave creature washing over you. Then, you retreat as silently as you came, leaving the messenger to its well-deserved rest. You return to your desk at the back of the shop, to the warm, steady glow of your green-shaded oil lamp. You sit down and place the blue book in the center of the pool of light. You take a deep breath, like a scholar about to open a long-lost manuscript, and you open the cover. The title page, as you saw in the cellar, reads Contos das Estrelas Perdidas Tales of the Lost Stars, written in a beautiful, flowing iron gall ink. The paper is soft and handmade, its edges feathered. You begin to turn the pages. The book is not printed, but written by hand, a single, elegant script flowing across the pages. It is a collection of short fables and legends. They are stories of the sea, of the sky, of mythical creatures and enchanted islands. They have the feel of the great Portuguese epic poems, like the Lusiads, blending real-seeming voyages with the deep sense of myth and magic. You turn a page, and your breath catches in your throat. There, on the right-hand page, is a beautiful, if slightly faded, woodcut illustration. It is a picture of a night sky, and in it, clearly depicted, are the 3 constellations you saw on the parchment map: the swooping silver ship, the intricate weaver's loom, and the celestial open book. And on the left-hand page, facing the illustration, is a small empty pocket, carefully constructed by folding and gluing the parchment of the page itself. It is the exact size and shape to hold your tiny, rolled-up map. This is it. This is the book's home. You begin to read the story that accompanies the illustration. You read it aloud, your voice a soft whisper in the profound silence of the bookshop, as if you are reading a bedtime story to the sleeping books themselves. The story tells of a gentle, shy, and ancient race of beings called the Star Sailors. They were not made of flesh and blood, but of captured starlight and the faint silvery dust of nebulae. They were a kind of celestial muros encantados, the enchanted ones, but their kingdom was not hidden under a hill in the Algarve. It was a distant star system, a place of immense peace and quiet beauty. They traveled the great, dark rivers of the night sky in beautiful, silent silver ships, navigating by the familiar light of their home constellations. But one day, a great cosmic storm, a solar wind of unimaginable force, blew them far off their course, scattering their fleet across the unfamiliar skies of a distant, unnamed galaxy. They were lost. Their own stars were hidden from them, and they could not find their way home. All they had to guide them was a single magical map, a chart drawn on a piece of captured moonlight that showed the way back to their home, the star system marked by the constellation of the open book. But the map's magic was faint. It would fade over time, its silvery lines growing dim. And so, the legend said, The star sailors had a pact with the world of men. Once every 100 years, when the map's light grew weak, they would send it on a journey to the one place it could be recharged. They would give it to their only messenger, the pardal das estrellas, the star sparrow, a bird that could navigate the paths between the worlds. The sparrow's task was to carry the map to the guardian of stories, a quiet, patient bookseller in a city by the sea, on a small blue-green planet called Earth. The legend said that the guardian's job was to unfurl the map, to look upon it, and then to find this very story and read it aloud, for the story contained the names of the lost constellations, and the sound of those names being spoken with a human voice would reawaken the magic in the map, making its silvery lines glow brightly once more, a beacon for the lost sailors to follow home. Your role as the bookseller was not just to read the story, but to become a part of it. Literary critics of the future might debate the origins of these otherworld journey narratives, but you, in this moment, are living one. You finish the last line of the story. Your voice fades into the silence. A deep, profound sense of wonder fills you. You look down at the tiny parchment map, still lying on your desk. And as you watch, in the soft, warm lamplight, you see something extraordinary. The faint, silvery lines of the constellations on the map begin to glow. The light is very soft at first, but it grows steadily brighter, more confident, until the tiny map is shining with a cool, beautiful, silver luminescence of its own. It is no longer just a drawing. It is alive. You have done it. You have fulfilled your part of the pact. You have recharged the map. You feel a sense of purpose so deep and so profound it brings tears to your eyes. Your quiet, lonely life as a seller of old books has been given a secret, cosmic significance. You are not just a shopkeeper, you are the guardian of stories, a keeper of celestial lighthouses. With the utmost care, you take the now glowing map and you gently slide it back into its pocket in the pages of the old blue book. You close the cover, the story and its map now safely reunited. You take the book and your candle, and you make your way back up the spiral stairs one last time. You enter the small, dusty room. The sparrow is still asleep on the windowsill. You quietly place the book on the sill beside it, a silent message that its work and yours is complete. As you turn to leave, the sparrow stirs. It lifts its head, looks at you with its bright black bead eye, and gives a single, clear, cheerful chirp. It is a sound of thanks and of farewell. Then it hops to the open window, and without a moment's hesitation, it launches itself out into the foggy night, disappearing instantly into the white. It is heading home to tell the star sailors that their path has been lit once more. The deep, satisfying peace that settles over you now is a thing of beauty in itself. The mystery is solved. The story has been told. The messenger is on its way. You have played your small, essential part in a great cosmic tale. Let the image of that ancient bookshop, a silent, sleeping forest of stories, begin to soften now, its sharp edges blurring into the gentle fog of a dream. Let the feeling of a secret, sacred duty fulfilled wash over you like a warm, gentle tide. There are no more mysteries to solve tonight, no more visitors to receive. There is only the profound, deep quiet of the Lisbon night, a quiet filled with the echo of a beautiful, ancient story. Allow that quiet to be your guide now as you leave the bookshop behind and drift slowly, so slowly, into the soft, waiting pages of your own deepest, most peaceful sleep.